There's almost no clouds today. We can see the terrain. Nevertheless, I will switch to terrain. And the other pilot would have his weather radar on. So you can both check the weather as well as the terrain. 390. There's no mountain in Europe or all over the world which would reach that flight level, but you have to consider it for the descent. You can see on the display the highest terrain is 15,100 feet. So I don't want to descend lower than 18,000 feet. So if ATC clears us for descent and they would say, yeah, descent flight level 140, you would really have to be careful not to crash into terrain, and the smartest thing to do would be unable, tell them, hey, give us maybe flight level 200. So let's just pretend they cleared us down to flight level 220, which is a flight level that we can accept. So we set flight level 220, and what we would do is press this button, and it would go to VNAV speed and you would descend. You can also go to flight level change, and I will go to Mach 78 for the descent. So idle speed, and we are descending. So the throttles, they go all the way to idle, and it should switch to throttle hold in a second here. Meaning with flight level change you can manipulate your descent path. If you add power, you descend slower. Here we go, throttle hold. And if you close the thrust levers all the way to idle, that is basically the maximum descent you can achieve. If you, of course, take the speed brakes, it would further increase your descent rate. But since we are still far away from the airfield, I will give it a little bit of power, and you can check here on your vertical speed how your power setting is affecting your descent rate, and also checking the green banana. This indicates that the point where we reach flight level 220. So you see it's moving further and further since I adjusted my power, and I will take a little bit of power out. So we establish a comfortable descent rate. Always monitoring the terrain. We also have visual contact to the mountains, but this gives us good reference. And now you can manipulate with the throttle to the descent rate you like. Sometimes ATC gives you restrictions like descent at least 1500 feet per minute or greater. Then you would obviously have to pull the power a little bit more towards idle. Check the fixed page again. It's 114. So 134, we are still nice and early with our descent. So time is 56. 6 minutes past 50, so there would be a new ATIS information. We would get this one via ACARS again. We can try to get it via voice, like back in the old days. So frequency for the ATIS is 20025. If you would click this and adjust your volume, we should be able to hear it. And you don't have to do this. Basically, these buttons are for for the channel where you transmit on. So if you push it, this one here, you transmit on the left VHF channel. So basically, this is the active frequency 12173, and we transmit with the push to talk button here or on the yoke. You would talk on this frequency. If I would switch to here, you would transmit on the active frequency on VHF right, which would be 120025, which is an ATIS frequency. Nobody would reply. So go back to here, but if you want to listen to the ATIS, you would just have to click this right VHF volume button, and if it's illuminated like this, you should be able to hear it. And you see this little arrow like this, it would be silent, and like this you would increase it too loud. Usually you can turn it all the way down to here, but yeah, doesn't seem to work. So we go back to guard. Maybe if we check it here on COM1 or on the left VHF, which is our main panel for communicating with ADC. This one is just to monitor things like the ATIS or the guard frequency. In some instances you would put in the ramp frequency if you have to contact ramp on the ground. Okay, the ATIS doesn't seem to work, but it is a pretty standard day, and try to switch to 290. So the VNAV, this is too much, too early. The VNAV automatically switches at the crossover altitude from the Mach number to the indicated airspeed. With flight level change, it is your responsibility not to mess this one up. So now we can see indicated airspeed 291, so this looks like we have reached the crossover altitude, so I'm setting 290 knots. So what I have done here on the legs page, I updated the speeds, so this is already on the final. I want it to be here at this point, which seems to be 12 miles out. I want it to be around 183 knots, which would be flaps 1 speed. At the outer marker 163, which is corresponding to our flaps 5 speed. And then over the runway, just for reference, 130 knots, which would be the reference speed plus 5 knots of wind additives. And like we talked about it for the go around, 183 knots to comply with the speed restrictions. You can see the fuel is now up to 5.2 tons because I put myself on a heading here and extended the runway center line. So you can see the mountains. We have almost passed them. The highest terrain 14.5, let's call it 15. I put 15 flight level 150 in here. So now gonna add a little bit of power so we don't descend that fast into the terrain. And now I'm just going to monitor my green banana, descent rate, my altitude, and the terrain. And seems like we have passed the highest terrain here. We are also visual. The airport should be somewhere around here. And now I'm just trying to get down. We should be at 4,000 feet at this point. Let's see if we can make that. Just pretend that we're cleared down to 4,000 feet. And if we don't have any flight level restriction for any points, which we don't have, we could switch our altimeters. So altimeter is set to QNH, and QNH today is 1013. So both pilots would confirm it. QNH 1013, passing 14,800 feet checked. You see the green banana? This is where we will be at 4,000 feet if we keep this speed. But we have to reduce our speed to 250 knots below 10,000 feet. And I will start to reduce the speed right around 12,000 feet. This airplane needs a little bit of time until it loses speed. So let's see how this will play out. In general, the higher you put your speed, or the higher the speed, the more drag, the faster you can descend. And if you go to idle, and I would put in 300 knots, you see the airplane will pitch down because flight level change, it uses pitch to reach the speed. So, but I want to be at 250 knots, so I will dial it back to 250. And now you can see the nose will pitch up again. And you will see this here also on our vertical speed indication. It goes almost to, or it goes to level flight to reduce the speed. And even then, it is pretty slow. To help that, we can, come on, we can extend the speed brakes. There's no speed limitation really on the speed brakes. On airplanes with winglets, they will auto stow if you have them fully deployed above 325 knots, and there would be a 50% marking. I think they will stow to 50% if you exceed 325 knots. This airplane has winglets, so there should be a 50% marking. That's how you know that if you have an airplane with winglets. Okay, we're approaching 10,000 feet. We can turn the landing lights on again. Fuel 5.5. Cabin is coming down. Cabin altitude is still at 6,000 feet. And yeah, this should descend down towards 690. And we're below 10,000 and we got speed 250. Everything is looking good. So we expect landing with 5.2. We have 5.5 in the tank. So if you want to be exact, so 5.2 and 5.5, yeah, so 300 kilos less. So 78.6. So 124. This doesn't make sense. Usually this speed would delete itself to show the actual gross weight. So 79.9 minus 300, 79.6. Yeah, indicating the same speed. Flaps 25, 125. That looks good. And I will go to vertical speed so I can adjust my descent rate a little bit better, and we can start to turn in. So speed, vertical speed, that is checked. We want to have the green banana on this point. And vertical speed makes it really easy to fly a continuous descent. And vertical speed, you are not speed protected. That means if I would put in a climb rate of 10,000 feet and the airplane cannot climb at 10,000 feet due to performance restrictions, it will pitch all the way up and the airplane would stall. In flight level change, this would not happen. The airplane would pitch down and basically protect itself from over or stall speed. And the same goes for VNAV. VNAV and flight level change both are protected speed modes. You can even reduce the vertical speed here a little bit. That will also help us reduce the speed. And let's see if I reduce the speed here, how the airplane will handle this. So we're descending at 600 feet per minute, and you can see the speed is only slowly dropping. You can turn it down to the up speed. So the up speed was 203 knots. That is the lowest speed I can set as of right now, because we are flaps up, and with flaps up I do not want to go below the flaps up speed. So this is my 10-mile ring, and I extended the center line, which is this magenta line. And you see the speed barely even moves, just very, very slowly. And we're only descending at 600 feet per minute. Now imagine we're descending at 2000 feet per minute. There's no chance of really losing speed during a high-speed descent. Or high rate of descent, I should better say. So for speed 223, we can check here for flaps 1, the maximum speed would be 240. So we could already extend flaps to 1, which would help us reduce the speed because it produces more drag. Let's adjust our headings, our heading. I'm just basically vectoring in myself. You can also see the DME here, 20 miles. That looks good. So slowly we're approaching our up speed. Now it's just a constant monitoring of how is my speed trend going, am I high, am I low, how far is it to the waypoint I want to be at 4,000 feet at. And you have to pre-plan at what stage you want to use flaps, at what stage you want to reduce the speed. As you saw, it's kind of tough to get the speed down. It takes a while. And for the turn, I do not want to be that fast, so I will go flaps 1. So we checked the flaps are extending, and as soon as this needle moves, we can turn our speed to the flap 1 speed. And you see again, the speed only moves really, really slow. I could help with speed brakes, but for now it's looking good. Still have 18 miles to go, so I'm being very conservative here. And I'm getting ready for my turn on the localizer. So I will give myself here an intercept heading. Something like this. And when cleared for the localizer, you would arm the localizer. White modes are armed, green modes are active. And we can descend even with a smaller rate of descent. You can also watch your glide slope indication, which is above us, meaning that we are below. But according to the FMC, this point should be at 4,000 feet. Those points, they are totally different compared to what I have on my chart, since this is a really old database. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. You can see the needle moving in, the localizer is captured, and the airplane should turn towards final course any second. In the 7.5, it automatically centers the heading towards the final approach course as soon as the localizer is captured. And there we go, we are turning inbound. We can arm the approach mode. You can see glide slope is armed, not active yet. Now we wait until the glide slope needle comes down and we capture it. So we still got 15 miles. I could have speeded up this, but I was flying very conservative. Sometimes you have to go fast. Sometimes ATC wants you to go slow, depending on traffic. So alt capture. And what happens when we intercept the glide slope, like a rule of thumb with the 7.5, is you want to be like flaps 5, speed 180, something like that. Even with flaps 1, the aircraft will accelerate on the glide slope. With flaps 5, the aircraft will also accelerate on the glide slope. With flaps 15, yeah, sometimes you can hold the speed. If you really want to reduce the speed, you need a lot of drag, and a lot of drag comes from the gear. Normally, for a normal descent at 2,500 feet, we will drop the landing gear, and it goes along with gear down flaps 20. So 11 miles, we're good. Already a visual contact to the runway. There we go. Glide slope is captured. Missed approach altitude 4,000 feet is set. And we're at 10 miles, and you see the speed is increasing, so I will call for flaps 5. So you could turn the speed down to the flaps 5 speed. And as I told you, the speed is above the flap 1 speed. If you had tailwind and the anti-ice on, it would be even worse to get the speed down. So you see, the speed is not coming down to the flaps 5 speed. We could use some speed brake. The speed brakes are allowed all the way until flaps 20. Above that, you will get a speed brakes extended message. So 2,500, that should have been a call out. Gear down, flaps 20, Flaps 20 speed, maximum is 195. So we're good. We can turn it down to the flaps 20 speed. Flaps 15 and flaps 20, they share the same speed. That is the point where you would arm the speed brake. Yeah, it shouldn't tell me speed brake extended because we are only at flaps 20. So yeah, this armed position here is really terrible. Oh yeah, it's reducing this the speed quite decent. And I would go flaps 25, set our final approach speed 130 knots, and we would read the landing checklist. So landing checklist, speed brakes, they should be armed. Landing gear is down, we check for the three green lights. And flaps 25, landing checklist complete. And if the tower cleared us for landing, we put all the lights on again. And we are already stable. 130 is the speed that we want. The white line is approaching. The thrust is in a region where we would like it to be. It shouldn't be at idle, and it shouldn't be at like 90% N1. And we see 2 whites, 2 reds. We're on glide, on localizer. And the airplane is flying nicely to the runway. So yeah, 1000 we would call stable or unstable, but we are stable. So we continue this approach. And now you monitor for any deviations. 1 dot of deviation for the glide slope and the localizer, you would have to fly or go around. If the speed would drop excessively below our reference speed 125, you should fly or go around. Also, if the speed would read now 150 or something like that, you would have to fly or go around. So let me try to fly this manually. So disconnect the auto throttle and okay. Disconnect the autopilot. And then let's try to land it. All right, I'm getting high here. So at 30 feet, I will pull up, and then I will slowly reduce the thrust and pitch to like 5 degrees. Slowly settle the nose gear back to the center line. The auto brakes should kick in, and the reversers should be opened as soon as you touch down. And we got green indications for the reversers. And I go to manual brakes, and I see an exit here. So I will slow down, put the reversers back to idle below 60 knots. So yeah, I was commenting high during the approach, not the best one. Turn off the runway. And no action on the runway, so we will wait until we are clear of the active runway. And then we would start with the after landing flows. So this looks like taxiway delta. That is what we have planned on. We can see the line. And after the line is crossed, we can start with our after landing flows. I'm gonna stop here for our after landing flows, because in real life you have two pilots to do that, and it is way more convenient if you sit in the flight deck versus here in the sim. So speed brake up, that is the captain's item, and then the FO would put the APU to start, put landing lights and a wide anti-collision light off, runway turn-off lights off, flight directors off. This the auto brakes go to off. Everybody turns off their weather radar. Should read WX no data, that is good. We put the flaps up, transponder back to XPDR, and the trim, which is indicated here on this white line, should be all the way back up to 4. That is a neutral setting for the trim. Trim back to 4, and yeah, you could put the VORs off, put this back to the out of the ILS, and yeah, now we can focus on taxiing back to the gate. So we took Delta. Let's see if my airport chart is the same as this old version here in Xplane. So it should be Delta Echo here in front of us. When you turn into any taxiways, you would confirm them. So I would say I'm turning left, going straight into Delta Echo, and you would make sure that clear left, clear right, there is no traffic. There's an active runway in front of us. That is 35 left. And you specifically need clearance from ATC to cross that runway. You do not want to cross a runway without clearance. It will be very dangerous. If we have clearance to cross, so we're clear to cross runway 35 left, we would make sure 100% that there's no departing traffic on the left or right side. So we take a look left, right. I put the light on again. So these are the flashing white lights on the wings so that the other airplanes can see us. You can also put the transponder back to TARA so that other traffic will see you on their TCAS display. And yeah, clear to cross, runway 35 left, clear right, clear left. Make sure that there are no red stop bars illuminated. If they would be on, you would stop, call the tower and say, hey man, you forgot to turn the lights off, or what is the situation here? But you would not cross them, even if you would have received clearance previously to cross the runway. Never cross a red stop bar. All right. Coming off the runway, we already see the terminal up here. And we can turn the lights back off. So this is Kilo, we are on Papa. The next taxiway should be Yankee. To our left, and I see a Yankee. That is excellent. So you see Papa, black square, you are here, and here the yellow square with the arrow indicating that taxiway Yankee will be to our left. And numbers here are gate markings. That was gate 352. And on a long taxi you could shut down one of the engines, but it makes it quite difficult to maneuver the airplane in this Xplane version with one engine, so I'll leave them running. And here are gate 495. Let's make sure there is nobody, and let's try to turn into here. Gate 406. You would have a marshaller standing there, or a display indicating to you, it should read something like Boeing 757 with your flight number on it, and it would tell you you would have to go right, and it helps you taxi in the airplane so that you are aligned on the yellow line. And it would tell you to stop because it senses how far the airplane is from the terminal, or basically it tells you when to stop to be on the yellow markings. So we're at the gate. We got the run light for the APU. Engine anti-ice is off. The lights would have been off because they would blind the ground guys, and now we can turn off the engines. You wouldn't get those warning sounds, and then you turn off the hydraulics. You go from left through the 1 and 2 to the right pumps, put the fuel pumps off, and yeah, you wouldn't get the beeper for the ICAS messages. That is not realistic. Put the red anti-collision light on so the ground crew knows that they can approach the aircraft. Put the isolation valve to on so the APU feeds the air back to the passengers. And then you would put the systems page on here, and you would do the transponder back to 2000. And standby where the radar is off. You would read the shutdown checklist, and you wait until the ground power. So yeah, GPU, that's just passenger bus, and you could, or the flight attendants could open the door. Good. Doors are open. We see ground power is available. You have to manually engage it. Now we're on. We can shut the APU off, put the packs off, and then we can proceed with turning the airplane off. Emergency exit lights to off. Window heat off. Packs are off. You leave the position lights, you leave them on. And you would wait until the run light is off before you can put the battery back to off. We turn down the display lights. Let's see if that works. Yeah. So, and you press it, and then you can turn down the other display. And you would turn down the CDUs. The FO would turn down his displays. All right. So displays all dimmed. Run light is off. You can take the battery off. And if there's an engineer around, you'll just leave it on ground power. You take all the other lightings off, because lights produce heat. All right, this looks good. All lights are off. You will read the checklist, and then you can go home or onwards to your next flight. All right, I hope you all enjoyed this second part of the Boeing 757. And if you have any requests on videos that you want to see, just let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.